All right, let's talk global education. Why our classroom needs a passport. And I'm just talking to you a little bit about why I think it's important to add global topics into education, whether it's microbiology or another subject. And one of the reasons is because I grew up in a small Bavarian town, which was absolutely beautiful growing up. But I did not have a global perspective until my early 20s. And it was great growing up, but I think especially being a STEM major, being a scientist, it is really important to look through a global lens at the science and at the global problems we are trying to solve. So again, as I said, growing up in Bavaria was great. I'm a first generation scientist, but going out in the real world and seeing what's out there made a big difference to who I am now. And one of my main breakthroughs in my personal journey was when I studied abroad at the University of Edinburgh for my year abroad. And that truly changed my life for many different reasons. So going abroad or being abroad, and it doesn't have to be physically, it just can be an awareness of what it's like in other places as well, I think is really important. And again, so why globalization and what does it do to our students, to you? This picture is actually, if you see on the bottom right where the arrow points, the first in the bottom row is my daughter Maya. And she decided when she was 15 to go to UWC, United World Colleges in Japan. And she learned about that from one of my students who took the lab here at the University of Florida, that there is a school where students from all over the world come together. It's an IB program, a high school program, and they teach about cultures and people with different backgrounds, ethnic background, religious backgrounds, being together and learning together. And she just was so fascinated by that concept that she decided at age 15 to move to Japan. How far can I get away from my parents when I'm 15? Literally across the world on the other side. But it was absolutely a life-changing experience for her as well. And who would have I been to stop her, because I did a similar thing a few years later. But again, so what do students gain from being abroad or from having a global experience built into the education? I think one thing is about trust, because when you don't know other people, it's sort of like who they are, and a lot of times you're scared, you don't know what they believe in, where they're coming from, what they want. And so I think being aware of other cultures as just being a normal thing, you definitely develop trust. Growth mindset is really important for what students gain, because you understand that not everything is the way you know it. Things are different, and you just deal with a lot of uncertainties with new things, and I think that really contributes to the growth mindset. Multicultural teamwork is really important, because when you're with people from other groups, different cultures, you have to figure out how to work together. And even in the lab, and you probably know that from your classes, the teamwork can be quite difficult. So, and that's only from people who are, mostly fairly similar to you. So imagine if you're working in a team with people from all over the world. And again, many jobs in the future, what you are encountering, whether you are a physician or other places, you will deal with other people. So understanding what it's like to work with other people is really important for future careers as well. Communication is better, because we often have our own way to talk because of our cultural backgrounds. But if we keep it a more open-minded conversation where everybody feels included, that's an important aspect as well. Obviously, for peacemaking, understanding different ethnic groups, different religious backgrounds, is being tolerant of these differences is important for everything, in our culture, as well as for a lot of the careers, jobs. If you work in a scientific team, a lot of times there are people from all over the place, but you focus on what you have in common and be tolerant of what's different. Differences, global experiences can also spark curiosity, because you can be curious about the food people eat, about how they behave. In Japan, for example, you're sleeping on futons at the bottom and on the floor. So there's lots of differences which can, be really interesting to experience as well. Sustainability is important, that you understand each other and support each other. empathy, understand that many cultures are maybe not as lucky as you are or have different things to worry about. And I think just generally inspiring a global trend is important, just to be open-minded. Again, we can be supportive of what we have, but we have to be open-minded of what other people bring to the table as well. So the mutual understanding of local and international students, I think, goes a long way, and especially in the sciences, because science is not a matter of one country or another country or one ethnic group versus another. We all work together, and we all work together to have a common goal to make a difference in the world. So I think for us as educators, it's really important to open our students' eyes to see the connected world, and especially interconnected world in the sciences. So how do I contribute to global STEM education? I have basically globalization in pretty much everything I teach, whether it's the microbiology labs, my online course, Microbes Without Borders, Study Abroad, and other ways. So I really try to help students along their global journey, even if it's at home. So for example, in the microbiology labs, we have our water lab, and we mimic it on a paper by Dr. Colwell. She was the first female director of the National Science Foundation, and she actually came to visit UF, where I got to meet her, which was really cool. And I told her that we're doing an experiment in our water lab, which she published on in the past. And that was that when you do sari filtration, so women in Asia, India, Pakistan, and Nepal and Bangladesh, they usually wear a cotton cloth or a cloth wrapped around their bodies. So if they can use a similar material, or even the clothes they're wearing, to filter water, what they get from a river or from a lake, they can really reduce cholera incidences by up to 50 or more %. So, little techniques like that, but putting it into a global context really can easily be incorporated as well. And it also talks about the United Nations goals for clean water and sanitation. In the Microbes Without Borders, that was a class deliberately designed to have a global aspect, and it's basically showcasing during the class how the many different aspects, global aspects of microbiology, are integrated into that class. So we talk about everything from astrobiology to cave paintings in France to extremophiles in Yellowstones and many other topics that are of global nature as well. So that's really has been fun to develop that class and teach that class, inspire the sparks. And then obviously my study abroad program, Medicine, Microbiology and Health, that's been really fun, where I take students to Europe, and we do lots of things from museums to World Health Organization. We do fermentation workshops, we go hiking in our nature. So again, there's lots of things that are connected to medicine, microbiology and health. And I think it's been a great journey for me to see the students and for the students to explore and experience some of these aspects of the trip. All right, just again, to wrap it up, is you may know the story of the blind man and the elephant. And it is the story goes that there's blind men, and each one of the different men touches a different part of the elephant. One touches a trunk and thinks it's a spear, the trunk and thinks it's a snake. The other one does the tusk and thinks it's a spear. The other one touches the foot and thinks it's a tree, and so on. So again, if we don't see, we have different perceptions of the same thing. But if we can actually see that it is an elephant, and we can acknowledge the different parts, I think that's really important. So this is just an analogy of what it's like to see things from a global perspective and with a global lens. So I hope you embrace the globalization and global aspects of the education you're getting, and seek to understand and see things from a different lens all throughout your lives. Thanks for listening to me today.